Well, I'll let the select board do its business, but I'm here to swear in the new officers, our new select board members in alphabetical order. Carrie Callahan, would you step forward, please? Please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Carrie Callahan,
Do solemnly and sincerely affirm
do solemnly and sincerely affirm
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform
all duties incumbent on me as a member of the select board,
all duties incumbent upon me as a member of the Select Board,
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire.
agreeably to the rules and laws of the state of New Hampshire.
That's
The
good enough.
Constitution. Okay.
So done. Thank you very much. And we need to sign here. Thank you. Okay, great. And Jenny Chamberlain, please. I state your name.
I, Jenny Chamberlain,
Do solemnly and sincerely affirm
do solemnly and sincerely affirm
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform
all duties incumbent on me as a member of the Select Board,
all duties incumbent on me as a member of the Select Board,
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
agreeably to the rules and regulations
agreeably to the rules and regulations
of the Constitution and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
of the Constitution and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
So swear. Thank you. Right here, please. Thanks very much. Congratulations.
So, Carrie and Jenny, having just sworn your fidelity to the rules and regulations of the Constitution of the State of New Hampshire, I would like to present each of you with said Constitution.
Thank you.
May you consult it regularly, as I do. Thank you. Thank you. These are real books.
Especially the part of attending town meeting. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. All right. And now we have quorum. That's all I have before.
I just realized I, in error, put out Joanne's name tag. I put her name tag out,
Yeah,
she's not in.
She's not here. I forgot where she is.
Someplace fun.
Yeah, someplace not
She
here.
left with a smile.
Yep. Right. And are we on and can you hear me? We're rolling? Great. Well, everybody, I'm trying to see if I can do this correctly. Welcome to the May 15th, 2023 Town of Hanover Select Board meeting in Midtown Hanover, where we will do good work and have fun. Something like that. That was close enough, wasn't it? Yes. And we do not have an incredibly packed agenda, although there is a non-public session afterward. And as is our common practice, we have public comment first on the agenda, and just to read our public comment guidelines. It is our practice to provide an opportunity for public comment at the start of each meeting. Comments or questions should be directed to me as chair, acting chair, as are limited to and are limited to 5 minutes so that we can keep the meeting flowing. If your comment is on an agenda item, it would be most helpful if you could hold your comments until that agenda item is taken up. Responses, if there are to be any, will be provided at my discretion. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address before you speak. Anyone for public comment? Kari.
Kari Asmus of Etna, Greater Hanover Center. And first, I would just like to extend a warm welcome to each of you to attend a Memorial Day observation at Hanover Center on Memorial Day, May 29th at 3 p.m. That will be going forward with thanks to help from some local folks, but in particular Scout Troop 45. I'm also here tonight as a member of the Finance Committee.
I'm sorry, wait, before you,
Yes.
I'm stealing some of your time. That date and time again, please?
So Memorial Day is May 29th,
Yeah.
and we are starting at 3 p.m.
On the green, I assume.
Yes, yes, at the Green. We are still figuring out about the sound system and whether we will be on the steps of the church or right in front of the cemetery, depending upon power source.
Okay.
So not all the details are figured out, but we've gotten that far.
Thank you, Kari. I stole some of your time.
Okay, so, and I'm attending the meeting tonight also as a member of the Hanover Finance Committee. As you know, we were not able to read our statement at town meeting, but given that you are probably some of our most important audience members, I am coming tonight, and it takes 2.5 minutes, so I hope I have that time left. During a public meeting on March 29th, the Finance Committee voted unanimously to approve the fiscal year 24 Town of Hanover budget as contained in Article 28 and many of the other articles. We voted our approval primarily on the basis that we believe the level of funding in this budget is generally necessary for the goods and services that residents of Hanover have historically enjoyed and expected. There are some amounts that we might quibble over, and those perhaps can be part of the discussion next year, as we will undoubtedly need to look some challenges in the eye as part of the fiscal year 25 budget process. For the third straight year, the Select Board budget proposes use of one-time monies from the undesignated fund balance to support ongoing operational expenses and to temper what would have otherwise been a 10.9% tax rate increase. With the non-inclusion of $32,000 in Article 23, the anticipated tax rate increase itself is now estimated at 7%. This proposal is of particular concern as the reliance on fund balance has doubled over the last year, and in the case of the ambulance fund, where the fund balance will be drawn down to 0, its usage is inconsistent with Select Board policy. The Finance Committee also notes that capital reserve funds are on a trajectory to be depleted more rapidly than they are replenished, owing to the impact of inflation on replacement costs. The Finance Committee urges the Select Board and administrators to carefully monitor and plot the multi-year trajectories necessary to keep future increases manageable to taxpayers and to weigh the fairness of shifting costs from current to future taxpayers when considering additional bonds. The Select Board's involvement will be critical in this highly uncertain environment, and we encourage members of the public to engage in discussions that we hope will ensue. In closing, the Finance Committee expresses its appreciation for the efforts of staff, administrators, and board members throughout this past year and the difficulties endemic to times of transition. We note the budget process of the past 2 years has been less than ideal, and many questions regarding fiscal management have been raised as completion of the fiscal year 22 audit is still in the wings. We are pleased with recent hiring of key staff, and we look forward to a productive year ahead. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you very much. And that's, as I recall, going to be entered into the minutes of town meeting. And can we get that just put into our minutes of this meeting?
I think so, yeah.
Please.
Okay, I can send it.
Yeah, that'd be great, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, if you send it to me and Carrie. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Noted.
Thank you, Kari. David, please.
David Vincelette, 93 Lebanon Street, Hanover. I've been coming to this board for 18 years, first I was trying to get polluting of Mink Brook stopped. Peter Christie was a thorn in my side, so seeing him gone is a beginning. It's a good start. A year ago, there were 6 of you who had signed to have a fence put around my family's land. Now 3 of those are gone. Julie Griffin is gone. Bill Geraghty had the decency to leave the board once he knew he had committed federal and state crimes. And Peter Christie was voted off the board after 21 years, whatever it is, where he sat here and allowed the town to dump poison where children swim and play. I've tried, it took me 15 years to get them to stop dumping this stuff. And then they put a fence around my yard and held us prisoners in a concentration camp and made us drink the water that they had polluted. And this board has refused to call in state and federal authorities to investigate crimes committed by Dartmouth College and the town of Hanover, poisoning town waters in violation of RSA 146. You're not allowed to put petroleum byproducts in town or state waters. It's also a violation of federal law. The Clean Water Act doesn't allow the degradation of in-stream uses like my family has, where we swim, play, and baptize people in the brook. This has been a violation of our First Amendment rights. And then Peter Christie decided that he would put a rule on the board that none of my questions would be answered. So I've come to you year after year, patiently asking questions and being turned down. So I'm asking you now that Peter Christie is gone, are you going to begin to answer my questions?
David, I don't think our policy is going to change dramatically in the near future. We've been addressing your questions over the years, and
You haven't been addressing my questions.
and further discussion has not proven to be fruitful.
Discussion is not proven to be fruitful. With a disabled veteran who staked his life in protecting the brook and has come to you patiently, peacefully, for 20 years, trying to get this board to tell the truth and face what they're doing and face what the town is doing. And what they have up on your board, you have a Native American boy up on your flag. You still have it here, even at 3 years after. Dartmouth took it down because it was a racist stereotype of abuse of a youth who's doing drugs and being fed alcohol. You still have it on everything. You have it on your mud flaps. You have it all. I drove by your workmen this week. All the workmen have it on their back, on their vests.
David, may I interrupt you? That I will address that statement. One of our plans is for the upcoming year is to work on a new logo for the town. As you just stated, Dartmouth only had one thing to do. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things to do. So.
Well, maybe you could start by taking that one that you have right there on TV down. Maybe you could start by not sending bills out to everybody with it on their bills. Maybe you could start by taking it off your website. You haven't made any move to take it off. The police wear it on both shoulders. All the police cars have it. Everything you own in this town has it on there. And you haven't done anything to take it. It's not just the Native American being abused. It's a symbol of what this town has done. How they've polluted the brook. They dumped toxic waste on Rennie Farm. They spent $50 million cleaning it up. But my family has had their land stolen. Our farm stolen. Our houses, 3 buildings bulldozed. And you all sit there thinking, well, maybe we won't change how we're doing things. You need to start telling the truth. You need to start to admit what you've done and apologize. And Dartmouth needs to admit what they've done and apologize. Look at your clock. Probably had enough.
Is there anyone else from public comment? Hearing none, let's move on to our agenda item number 2, which is a meeting with District 2 Executive Councilor Cinde Warmington. Please come on up and just let us know who you are, please. And thank you very much for visiting.
Yeah, thank you. Executive Councilor Cinde Warmington, the Executive Councilor for District 2. And congratulations, Mr. Chairman and new members of the Select Board on your election tonight. And I am the new Executive Councilor for District 2. I have served District 2 in a prior term, but this is my first time serving Hanover because Hanover's been included in District 2 as part of the redistricting. So District 2 now extends from the Massachusetts-Vermont border down in Winchester and Hinsdale, Keene, through Concord, the Upper Valley, Bethlehem, Littleton, the Mount Washington Hotel, even Plymouth and Ashland.
How many districts are there?
There are 5. I have 81 cities and towns in my district, and I am making every effort to get around to every city and town so that I can meet you and hear what your unique needs are. I had a chance to meet with your town manager here before this meeting today to talk about some of the unique concerns here in Hanover. The other thing that it does for me when I come out to the cities and towns is it alerts me so that if there are any opportunities for grant funding that come to my attention as an executive counselor, and I know that you might be interested in applying for those, then I can alert you to those. I'm pretty proactive about reaching out to my cities and towns and making sure that they know about these grant opportunities as they come to my knowledge. For those of you that don't know, the Executive Council is responsible for approving all contracts, state contracts over $10,000. That was about 2,700 contracts last year. We also approved nominations for all judges, for department commissioners, for every little border commission. There was, I think, 350 or so of those last year. I would encourage anyone listening who is interested in serving on any board or commission to apply. Our state is run by the power of volunteers, and the more representation that we have from District 2, the more the folks in Concord know what your needs are. So I really do encourage that. And I would also just let the Select Board know that I do put out a newsletter after every Executive Council meeting. I know it goes to the town manager and it should be coming to you directly. If not, I've asked the town manager to make sure that he forwards it to your attention.
Yeah, that would be great if we could get
I'm
those.
always available. Besides doing contracts and nominations, the role of the Executive Counselor is really to be the eyes and ears of the executive branch out there and to provide services to all our constituents, whether it be cities and towns or individuals that have any kind of a concern with a state agency or anything to do with the state government. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to take any questions, but otherwise I'll let you move on with your agenda.
Thank you, and we recognize the importance of your position and greatly appreciate you coming to visit us.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Item 3 on our agenda, we're going to table. These were the proclamations we are planning for Peter Christie and Bill Geraghty. We wanted to, felt a little bit rushed in the events, basically just felt a little bit rushed, and we wanted to do it correctly. So we're going to table that item for a future date. Stay tuned, it will be fun. And that brings us to, shouldn't really put a check mark through it because we didn't really do it, but so I put a little open box. Welcome remarks and initial reorganization discussion. Jenny and Carrie, thank you. Welcome to the board. In general, what we do after at the first meeting after town meeting is to reorganize, start to set some goals for the next year. We're a little bit hampered this year as we're lacking Joanna, who's been an important member of the board for several years now. And I thought the best way to proceed through this process would be to just talk a little bit about the role of the board and let you folks think about, where are my assignment sheets? The role of the board, and then talk a little bit about assignments, liaison assignments, as I know you're both familiar with those, but really the role of those liaison assignments. So what we're, the tentative plan right now is to have our next meeting is, where's my cell phone? It's June 5th.
June 5th, yep.
June 5th, and have a formal reorganization discussion, and if appropriate at that time, voting to organize ourselves. We are, as just about every board in the world, has to organize themselves with a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary. The secretary's role is highly sought after, and there's usually a lot of arguments as to who can get that coveted spot. Actually, we usually dump it on the newest member of the most junior. Well, I guess junior in terms of service, and since we have two junior in terms of service people, maybe we were thinking we could do rock scissors. Actually, yeah, rock paper scissors, or some real formal thing like that.
Very sophisticated.
Yes, we
Can I
are.
ask a question about the role of the secretary? The minutes are
We do not take the minutes. We are
Yes.
fortunate enough. Can you explain the minute taking process?
We
Because it has changed.
currently we have a remote minute taker who will be watching the meeting, and hello, because I'm sure she's listening, but not now, but in a few days. And she'll take the minutes from there and then bring them back and make any edits if people feel like something wasn't captured, and
We review them, vote on
then
them,
approve.
amend, and then vote.
so is the covenant nature of the secretary because there's really nothing to do?
Exactly.
Absolutely. And while we're talking.
Joanna's been secretary for
Yes.
like 20 years now.
Yes, so, and while we're talking about that, just to alert the two of you, these little flat, the microphone that you have in front of you,
Oh,
Jim,
yeah.
is immaterial. The little
Oh
flat
yeah, it's still an
critters
old one there.
are, yes, you'll see it on the table there. And it's primarily for our gentlemen at CATV because we're not amplified within our room. So when there's a large audience, we just use our non-library voices.
So I just wanted to spend maybe 30 seconds or slightly more talking about what the select board is in this particular situation. We are a large town. As you all know, New Hampshire is divided into three things: unincorporated territories, which just fascinates the heck out of me. Regardless, I'll skip over that. Towns and cities. Lebanon, of course, being a city, has a city council. They have a mayor that they, I think, rotate through. They are the legislative body. They make decisions. They run the town, essentially. Hanover is a town. It is a large town with a lot of resources and a lot of services that are being supplied. And consequently, the model of the select board working with a town manager is most appropriate. There are, of course, very teeny towns in New Hampshire that operate without a town manager, or with a, what's the other designation besides a town manager? It's like
The
a
town administrator.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, which basically just is not, doesn't manage, but
Similar
just
but
sort of
different.
Yeah. And as a select board, our most important things we ever do are twofold. One is to hire and work with the town manager. Fortunately for you guys, we just did that, and we're very lucky to have Alex. He's now entering his second year as of when?
Almost, yeah, June, the end of June.
Yeah. Yep.
Seasoned veteran now.
That's right.
Nancy
And
laughs.
after all the budget stuff we went through last year, it's...
That's true. That should count for 2 years at
Left
least.
with scars.
Right.
And that is our most important role. To the town department heads do not report to us; they report to Alex. All the town staff report to the department heads, report to Alex, and Alex, of course, does report to us in those annoying little box charts, and that is the system as it works. The other important thing we do, of course, is besides banner requests, which we don't have any today. Why is that?
We just kept everything, well, we have some banner issues right now.
Okay.
With putting the banners up.
Okay. So we're having banner technical difficulties.
We are having some banner technical difficulties because the fire engine that is used to do it, which is a somewhat equipment intensive process, is going to be out of service for repairs, and so we don't have the ladder to get up. But there's got to be a different way to. That's a TBD. I'm going to come back with more at some point there. But no banner request today.
And besides banner requests, the other important thing we do, of course, is the budget. And Carrie, of course, has been through that process with the Finance Committee and Kari. And that is a huge endeavor, which we will discuss. We will start discussing usually in the early fall when we set goals and targets and look at the upcoming fiscals that we need to take into account. We give guidelines to Alex, who then disperses them to the department heads and comes back to us with a budget that we go over with a fine-tooth comb and move forward in that regard. Those are our biggest responsibilities in terms of actually doing things moving forward. And I'll talk a little bit more about that at our next reorganization discussion. I don't want to take up too much time of that at the moment. Alex distributed our liaison. I don't want to spend any time on our liaison page, which you got in your packet. And we've actually pared this down a lot. There was probably twice as many committees and organizations that we used to represent. There's some statutory ones that we absolutely need to be on, and that includes the Conservation Commission, the Finance Committee, Howe Library, Planning Board, Trescott Company. I'm not so sure about the Advisory Board of Assessors. That must be statute. I don't know if that's that is too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though it's advisory, yeah.
Yeah, and on these boards, we function slightly differently on some different boards than we do on others. However, on most of Nancy, for example, has been on the planning board forever and is a full participant. And God bless you, Nancy. Nancy, you're the best. Peter always described it as more of an advisory type role for other situations, such as the Conservation Commission, where for example, I was on the Conservation Commission as the Select Board representative for a good number of years, and I brought other than an interest in doing things outdoors and riding my bike and hiking, I have no expertise in land conservation, and in that role I functioned as truly seeing how I could facilitate and not guide, but maybe direct would be a better word, some of the efforts of the group who were full of true experts in land conservation, and I learned a heck of a lot when I was on that. So that's the assignments vary, of course, by the particular board. So what I would suggest that we do as a group is take a look at this list and see what you might be interested in, and get back to me and Alex, and we don't have to do that tonight, and it is in your packet.
Yep.
Obviously we will have to replace Peter on several important ones. For example, he was a representative to the Conservation Commission, the Hanover Improvement Society, which is really an important one, not statutory, but important one.
And Bill Geraghty's on the Finance Committee.
And Bill Geraghty being on the, thank you. That was a huge contribution that Bill did over the years. Kara, you asked me in an email whether or not we're going to be able to sign people tonight, and I forgot to. I apologize for getting back to you. I initially said we were going to, but then it's not going to be possible at this meeting.
And you have another thought?
Please.
So Kari Asmus, and now I'm wearing my trustee of the trust funds hat, so it's just new. And we had our first meeting last Thursday, and I think that unlike in the past where the trustees could go off and do their things, that now with the advent of the reset fund, where we really do need to work more in concert because you have your responsibility. And we have ours, that it occurred to me that the way it works now is that the trustees, talk to our administrator, which is Ellen, who then talks to your administrator, who then talks to you. And in some ways that maybe isn't going to serve us as well going forward. I don't think that anybody needs to come to our meetings on a regular basis because most of them will not need that level of care, but and of course there's nothing that would stop any trustee from talking to any select board member, but if there were a point person
Could we get you
Pardon me?
mentioned Ellen, would Ellen be an appropriate person to?
Well, I meant board to board member, so sort of horizontal, or trustee to board level. I know that Joanna has attended some meetings in the past and is sort of well versed, but I just think that there may be times to facilitate communications, that there's a point person on each side.
Okay.
But that of course is up to your discretion, and
Okay, yeah, let's.
keep the
I
list
see.
shorter, and I'm
No,
sorry. But-
After you were at a last meeting with the trust fund,
Yes.
and I do see the advantage of what you're saying. Let's come back to that and think about it into a couple of weeks.
Yes.
I just said we were paring down our
I
responsibilities.
know, and again, I'm not suggesting that this is something that you would come to a meeting, every meeting. It would just be that in the event that there's a need to talk, that it's sort of decided who is the person you talk to.
Right.
And also, I'll add, just to make the list longer, Carrie and I were talking earlier and realized that the Capital Improvement Program Committee, which is new this year, is also not on it.
And it's statutory.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
What are we
So
calling
that's
that one?
more.
Capital.
The CIP committee. Yeah.
Committee?
CIPC.
CIP,
So
Capital
Improvement.
Improvement
Program.
CIP.
Okay, needs a member. Select board member. Great. So we've just increased our work by. These are fun. Yes, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to point out the obvious that not only Peter's absence in terms of leadership, but also in terms of, by my count, he had 3 representative roles and 3 alternative roles.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we had a huge
The alternative roles, as you probably noticed, for example, from when you were on the finance committee, were not. I've served as the alternative for the bike ped committee bike walk, and I've made 0 of their meetings. I tried to make 1, but then I got pulled aside. We do our best.
And Peter has never attended the planning board
Yeah.
meetings.
I'm not even, maybe we can,
Okay.
maybe we should just eliminate those.
Alternates.
Unless
That's the
there
other
are ones where,
Alternates.
will planning board really need that?
Yeah,
How many-
I mean,
Were you always
and
present? You
I was
must-
always present, and planning board, if I ever wasn't, planning board is like, okay, it wasn't. And so now that we're just talking about the boards, the other thing that we do as part of the board is we sort of reflect what the board's concerns are. For instance,
Right.
when the Howell Library is getting really jazzed about renovating and so forth, I am kind of the bitter voice of reason around the board saying, what the town really doesn't have. There's no sense of going to ask the town for the kind of money you want to ask because we don't have it, and I don't want you to go and be disappointed. So it's that kind of, and I will come back to the board saying, the planning board is getting ready to do thus and such, and so I would suggest, for instance, that citizens pay attention to this meeting. That's another kind of role that we play. So actually, in my estimation, in addition to the budget, which is far and beyond our greatest responsibility, that these liaison roles actually are really important because it allows this two-way communication to happen.
Right, I thank you for bringing that up. At every meeting, the select board members give a short report of what's going on. Okay, I think we can handle this at the next meeting. Trescott Company, by the way, is something that I've been on for a while. Oh, and I should say, and I'd like to continue on that. Alex is also one of our representatives on that, and we need to get one more representative to replace Peter. Then we'll have to have a reorganization meeting for that committee.
Right.
So really what I see, opening up is Conservation Commission, Finance Committee,
Improvement Society.
Improvement Society. I've never been to their meetings. I'm sure that's very important.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah. Parks and Rec, which is not really meeting these days, are they?
I'm not sure how active.
They don't have, that doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, can you talk to John Sherman and make sure, see if
I will double check.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know there's a few that we have listed on our website that I have not met in a very long time, so it's possible this is one of them.
they used to meet.
Yeah.
There was a TV show about them.
That's why they stopped meeting.
Right.
Planning board, I understand, Nancy, you're as stalwart as ever.
It's my intention to ask to be reappointed, and it's my intention also to ask to be reappointed to the How Board.
Okay.
I'm just saying out loud because January 5, I will not be in attendance when we're
June 5. June 5, yes.
Yes, I said January.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm planning in advance.
Yeah.
Also June 5,
Also
I
June
will
5,
not.
okay.
I
got it.
have not quizzed Joanna on Advisory Board of Assessors. She's away for 2 weeks, excuse me. So I think she's pretty much out of touch, and that's a great thing. She needs a vacation. Nor have I touched base with her on bike walk. Conservation Commission is definitely open. Finance Committee is definitely open. And Improvement Society is definitely open. We don't know if Parks and Rec exists. Kari says it's gone. It's kind of sad. It's such a...
John just told me, because I've been in touch with him.
Trescott Company. Oh, Trescott Company, by the way, I didn't even know what it is. I was just up there this afternoon. I got 2 ticks on me that I had to pull off. But it's still worth the... It's so worth the risk. I forgot the bug spread today. That's no problem. I forgot how many years ago, probably a decade or so ago, we municipalized the Waterworks Company, which was 51% owned by Dartmouth, 49% owned by Hanover. Now it's I'd have to look at our bylaws, but I think it's a 50-50 split. And the town of Hanover runs Waterworks, as you well know from those bonds that we've passed at the last town meeting. And the wonderful 1,200 acres has now been turned into a wonderful recreation area, and the Trescott Company is the holding company for that. There are 6 members on the board, 3 from Hanover, 3 from Dartmouth. And we only meet, we are, I think it's 4 times a year, if we make all of them. And it's a land management committee. And if somebody, well, okay, that's the description. I think we can, if you have questions, please get in touch with me. If you have thoughts on what you want to do, please get in touch with me. And and Alex wanted to be notified as well. You can just sort of CC us on an email, that'd be great. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Awesome. Where is my agenda? So Alex, we put you on for town meeting next steps. This is sort of administrative report, right? No, not really.
Yeah, not exactly, but I don't have one for that, so we can pretend.
Okay.
And so what I wanted to do is it just felt like a good idea to run through very quickly, everything, all the articles from town meeting, and just, I'm not going to take a lot of time here, but there's a couple follow-ups, and then if there's any questions or any comments or feedback, I'll also say that staff are meeting on June 5th to do a sort of after action from town meeting. So our election official, everybody who's involved in organizing and setting things up, we're going to get together. We have a monthly meeting of our election officials now. And so we're going to do that, and then we're going to bring that feedback back to the select board on Monday night, June 5th. And so if there's anything, I would say if there's anything that any of you noticed or that you've heard from members of the public that worked or didn't work, get that list going. And on June 5th, we'll present some of the things that we got and any feedback and discussion from you all. And then I can, provide some direction back to staff, for starting to plan next year. And so that's kind of more logistics. But the warrant articles, we just swore some folks in, so that's number one. The zoning stuff, I think, is well in hand in the planning office. There's not really that much, the articles 2 through 7, I think that we need to do here. Article 8, same thing. I forget who was telling me this, but somebody was telling me, it might have been Peter Christie, that at one point in time, years ago, basically one of the fence viewers or surveyors, I think it was a fence viewer, like basically somebody was trying to use them, like they were an active, were you telling me that?
I may not have told you myself, but a guy who's moved out of town, and I kind of remember when it was like a decade ago, was trying to, I don't think I'll just, they live on Occoquan, and they were looking to see if the fence viewer would be helpful in the dispute,
like to come out and help, right?
Yeah. And I kind of said, no, you might want to get a surveyor. Right. There's some really good surveyors around.
Although it'd be a good, that's when you call the fence viewers and say, all right, it's time to go. Right. Yeah, right. So the bond articles, we're going to work with our bond attorney on those. There's not a whole lot that we need to do immediately, except all of the budget articles. Our finance director, Ellen, has to enter into the DRA website, and so then the state approves actually all the warrant articles before they get listed on the town warrant, so we have to submit everything. Things get put in the wrong, things need to be put in the order that they specify. Language has to be, just right. And so they do that, and then we basically feed back all the budget stuff back in, and that's what builds the budget on the state website in their records. I don't think there's much for 12 or 13, which are the tax exemptions, except that welcome to the select board. I've got a stack of papers for everybody to sign. These are the solar exemptions, and so don't let me forget that we can do it in non-public or when we're finishing up that we've just got about 70 different things for each person to sign there. Article 14, there's not a ton to do there. The RSA is in effect. Article 15, Rob and I are going to talk a little bit more about some next steps there. Article 16, we actually have a meeting tomorrow
So with respect to Article 15, obviously lots of concern around the implementation of that. So will there be a timeline that's put out and kind of a flow chart as to the key decisions that need to be made? I know there was concern about, land transference and then,
and the concern is well placed. I can see how this very short article would make people a lot of worried, because it's basically just voting, are we voting this wonderful 5 acres away. But we did go through this at our pre-town meeting discussion as well with a lot of folks, and there will absolutely, there's, as Alice was about to say, the town planners will get together. We will create a tentative plan, work with Twin Pines, if that is to be the developer, and see how we move this forward. The other projects that I got on the board before Guile Hill was built, but I do know from history that was an immense effort. Took a lot of coordination between the town and Twin Pines, and worked out beautifully. The other development that we had with them was, of course, right across from the high school, and that process just was incredibly smooth, really just incredibly smooth. And so this is a different sort of project, in different environment, and there's a lot of things that need to be sensitive to. Obviously, we'll have to hold a lot of public hearings to get feedback from them, from the public, and move forward in appropriate fashion. But yeah, if anybody's watching or listening, we're not just going to go out there with bulldozers tomorrow morning and put up 29 units. We don't even know the number of units to begin with. We don't know this, how we would site and things like that. But we did feel compelled to, as was discussed at town meeting, I think the first time this came around, it was going to be a very small development of 6 or 8 units, and due to density regulations, that has changed significantly. So we felt compelled to relay that to the citizens so they don't feel hoodwinked.
And the other thing that is apt to happen, just so that we don't get inundated with meetings, is that these will probably be public hearings which are embedded in our regularly scheduled board meetings. And so it'll all be posted as our agendas are and so forth. And if past projects are an indicator, and if Twin Pines is our chosen developer, they come back, Andrew Winter himself comes back as many board meetings as we invite him to tell us about bond banks, about progress, about any regulations that they are working with Rob Hausman. So all of this is done very much out in the open, and as I say, done so people, if they want to start putting our board meetings on their regular calendars, of course they're all shown on TV as well. But as I said, these hearings will be embedded in our select board schedule.
This is a really exciting project, and you have to remember that the excitement really comes from 2 places. One, that was land that was going to be developed by a private developer, and
with
the town.
Hundreds of units.
Exactly, and that's somewhere being forgotten in this whole discussion. We, the town, has now I'm losing all my verbs, have now preserved, I don't know the exact number, 250 comes to mind.
Yep.
And it plus or minus whatever. So rather, as Nancy just said, having hundreds of houses on that land, we have preserved 250, and on a 1 5-acre plot are going to put up maybe as much as 29 units. So it's really exciting. It's a win-win for the community. It really is.
But we'll come back and we'll share, we're super early, so we'll share some high-level timelines and make sure everybody knows when the public hearings, and there'll be many chances for that. So we'll make sure to bring that back here. I want to talk with Rob a little bit about some of the next steps first. And same on the next one, Article 16, the rental housing ordinance. We had started to mobilize some resources because we were planning on doing that through the select board last year. And so we actually have some staff meeting tomorrow that are just looking at the inspection forms, the registration process for the website, the information to go out to, there'll be information that will be sent to every property owner just to try and cast a wider net. Versus not.
Alex, how much of our I know we put it on pause. How much of our infrastructure is built, and what do we have yet to do?
Some is.
Okay, let me just rephrase it. When do you think we're going to get it up and running?
We're looking at probably July 1 is probably easy to time to. Because then the fiscal year starts, so next year's budget, although we have the money in this year's budget too. But we just sort of picked that as a lot of things are starting July 1st, and so we don't want to rush. We have the job description written, but we're finalizing it and we need to post it and then interviews. So there's probably a couple month lead time, but there is going to be information that will go out to the community before that, because the registration process for rental units can begin sooner than the enforcement program. So basically getting people who own rental properties to register, and that they are basically granted, I forget what the language is, but they're basically granted the ability to continue it until the town begins the actual inspection program. But we're going to send the information out in paper to every single property owner, every single address in town, so everybody has it. We'll post it on our website and we'll bring it back here as well. But I would say we're a couple months away from the program, really kind of getting going.
Thank you.
The next few, there's not really a whole lot there. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Articles 22 and 23 relate to the budget, so that's all a July 1st start date. And of course, there's also a capital planning component to that, which is going to change a little bit this year. I'm excited to have the CIP committee. I'm sure Pete Kobaki is too, to have a little bit of support to help him work on this. And so that will be interesting to start that. But all the purchases, as far as I'm aware, anything that we're looking at doing going forward, quotes, there's already information that department heads have started to solicit, and they want to move, as soon as the fiscal year turns over, they want to start some of these projects. Articles 24, 25, 26 are the collective bargaining contracts. Like everything else with the budget, that kicks in on July 1st. We are sending a note out to all of our employees just to let them know the compensation changes that happened. There's a few things happening at different times. So for example, there's certain things that happen on employees' step anniversaries, so not on July 1. There's a few things that are happening in the pay period right after July 1. Once we send that email out to staff, I'll forward a copy of that to the select board as well, so that you all have the same information that they have. The operating budget, again, July 1st.
Alex, can
Yes.
you just go back on that? Because the alert that because it is a one-year contract, we will continue to have our lead negotiator, Matt Upton, with us again.
Yes.
And that the convenience of a 2 or 3 year contract with unions is huge, and we don't happen to enjoy it this year,
Right.
For a lot of reasons, and so we will be, that'll be back on the table as it was this year.
Yeah, and what's nice is that because of the retention and recruitment study that we're doing with staff right now, there's participation from the unions. There's been a handful of times when Matt Upton, our labor attorney, has run things by the union reps or presidents just to make sure we're all kind of working together on all of this. But the nice thing is that we are, we're basically in constant communication with our, not our entire workforce, but a pretty big percent of our staff right now, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. So basically the hope is that this year and also in future years, because we plan to sustain that, maybe not at the level we're doing now, which is very time consuming, but that we basically will have ongoing meetings with staff so that when we get to negotiation time, it's not a, hey, haven't seen you in 3 years. And of course, that's not exactly how it works, but that we just want to be in more constant communication so that we're aware of whatever the needs are, and it sort of more seamlessly goes into the negotiations. And oh wait, there was something else I wanted to say. Oh, about housing. Just when we were talking about rental housing, sorry, I forgot to mention that a week from tonight at this time at 7 p.m. at Howe, there is a housing workshop that is grant funded by the state. If anybody is watching this and you're at all interested in housing, head over to Howe a week from tonight. It is a very cool, tactile, hands-on workshop of a way, that
like building?
I don't want to say anymore. You got to go to see.
But
yes.
If you can't, it's also like.
It also, that's right. Sorry. It's also going to be on Zoom, and that's on our website at hanovernh.org. The Zoom link for that as well. And it's just a very cool way in a small group setting to get right into some kind of shaping some future housing issues. And that is a grant that the planning office applied for and won, $75,000 to help us modernize, hopefully the first of 2 halves of a grant.
So a week from.
That is a week from.
At 7:30?
Yep. I think it's 7.
Okay.
let's see, the next few, the increases to the election officials. There's not a whole lot to do there other than, I mean, on our internal end, one of the things that we're doing is, and this is going to be the same thing actually for all of you as well, is we're going to get you registered in our payroll system, which I don't think has happened before. So for the stipends that you get, I don't know about payroll. I mean, but basically, it's a form, and it gets you registered. We should be, anyone who gets any money from the town should be, registered in our payroll system, basically.
I mean, we get W-2s.
Do you? So the select board might be, but I know the other officials don't.
No, I get
Maybe you all are already
I get
in
a
there.
W-2.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We get really rich from this position. Did you know that?
Yeah, $800 stipend to go out and buy a Ferrari with it.
That's why I do it.
That's where your Ferrari comes from. But there is a person, because the folks downstairs in IT have been very careful to talk about, be careful about email that you open on town. And there was an individual whose name I'd never heard of before who wrote to me talking about just this issue.
Well, I mean,
should I open
you
that email?
you could if you so here's the thing. So all of you also, once you get on, and you both might be in there, and you two will also get pulled into our phishing email system once you get your Hanover account online. There's like a 40-minute training. So in that case, and this is a good phishing thing, if you get an email and you're not sure, not to forward it, but if you email me separately or call me and say, I got an email from such and such asking about this thing, you could screenshot it or take a picture on your phone. It's best not to forward a suspicious email, but you can, take a screenshot and send it over, and I can give you the thumbs up or not. Most likely it was someone legit, because we are doing that right now, but it's also, that would be some clever social engineering if someone got in there.
Super careful.
It's a good thing to be careful about.
Cautious.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's also a phishing button even on the.
There is. There should be, and you should definitely use it, and you'll get points if you hit phishing and it's a phishing email. Yeah, the IT tracks all of that. So yeah.
we do it at work too, and I love to do it.
Yeah. So, but that's just something where that's just a sort of internal accounting thing that we're getting organized. And then the capital improvement plan program committee will discuss with the committee assignments. But that should be kind of a great thing. I have a couple other small updates.
Is there?
And I don't have anything else for town meeting.
Does the RSA talk about how that should be organized?
They have some requirements. For example, the planning board member, which is why it's in the warrant, that is required. Everything else is actually not. And so we can kind of create that committee. What I will probably do is come with a recommendation of X department head, just a few different sources of stakeholders, something like that. But obviously we can do whatever we want there, I think. As long as there's a planning board member, that is a state requirement. And that we're supposed to look 6 years out. Those are the two state statute pieces. But I will also double check that.
So is that a natural appointment for me or not? That I
No.
serve both, or that
It could be somebody else.
One of my civilian friends, like a Paul Simon, who is a rock star.
I would say if you've got someone on the planning board who, I don't think, we don't need like finance background experience because, I'm going to be there, Ellen's going to be there.
Right.
But, I think one of the areas that we could do more in from a capital planning standpoint is especially around our municipal buildings and facilities. And so if there's anybody who has a particular, amazing with vehicles, heavy equipment, stuff like that.
Let me send you a couple names from Maya's with those people for as long as I have. Great.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. And then what we'll probably do is get the department heads that tend to have the bigger capital purchases.
Sure.
Probably myself and Ellen,
Peter,
select board. Yeah, exactly. And something like that.
Okay.
And not make it too big because I think we want to be able to have some good discussions and whatnot. But of course, this is a body that would be doing the work that one staff person is doing right now. So it's going to be much more multi-stakeholder than it is currently, and we'll take, of course, the capital improvement program to the select board during the budget hearings. A couple other, if I can, at those, do a couple other quick
Yes, we talked, you had a couple of the things,
Yeah, just
right?
a couple really small things, because I don't have like a full report, which I usually do the
Please,
second
please.
meeting of the month, but I've also been totally thrown off the last few months just with the budget and the town meeting, different meetings at different times of the month. One is that we do have a new website that's going live tomorrow. So that has been almost done for a little while. We're just kind of finalizing a few pieces. And so hopefully that will go relatively smoothly. There will definitely be issues on it. You know, the thing that holds up websites is like the last 1% of stuff. And so we're just pulling the trigger and moving forward. I'm sure there's some errors on there. If people notice errors, if they would send it to me or to Carrie Osgood, we will get it down to our IT department and we'll get things fixed. I have no doubt that there's things. We tried to, a lot of outdated information on our current website. We tried to keep as much, especially records and documents, agendas, minutes, but like and we did actually move over all the news items just so we didn't like lose anything. But there were so many pages on our site. Like top level pages, you go to a menu and then it's something from 7 years ago. So we tried to not do that stuff, but again, so if any of you notice stuff, just send it over and we'll get it fixed. That's one. There is some information in your packet, which you've probably seen from Parks and Rec that was just responding to a question from last time. So just check that out if you're interested. And the other is just an FYI, I will be out next week taking some time off. So just wanted to, and I will, Carrie Osgood is I'll send you more information about that. I just wanted to make sure to let you know about that.
So when you're gone, obviously the department heads are the appropriate resources for the appropriate issues.
Yeah, I would go to Carrie as a first step, and her and I have sort of figured out who to go for what while I'm out, and but yeah, I would start with her, yeah.
Okay.
But I will be modeling work-life balance. I will not be checking my email while I'm out. So we'll see how that looks the Monday I come back. But that's it.
Great, thank you.
You'll be fine because Carrie's a.
That's true.
She's actually the person who runs the entire.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Alex. So next on our agenda is to review and vote. To enter into a binding agreement with the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, NHDES, for the Wastewater Reclamation Facility Upgrade Project, and to authorize the town manager to apply, sign, and execute all necessary documents. Now we have that in our packet. Read every word carefully. We've talked about this for a while. Any final words on this, Alex?
No, the only thing I'll mention, so these are just what we have to sign to enter into the loan agreements, to borrow the money, to do both the water and wastewater projects. They are at very low interest rates. They're around 2.5%.
Yeah.
That's basically it. We are under a bit of a timing pressure, which is we were trying to keep things off, but we had to do this one tonight.
Any discussion on that?
Do you want me to read the actual motion?
What is the motion? What do you need for a motion?
The motion is to vote to enter into a binding agreement. I move
Where'd you get that?
that we, action required under item 6.
Okay.
I move that we vote to enter into a binding agreement with the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services for the SRF program for the sum of $22 million to do with the understanding that all loan funds received are to be repaid. The Select Board also authorizes the town manager to apply for, sign, and execute all necessary documents for grants and loans for the town's wastewater reclamation facility upgrade on behalf of the town.
The only thing I'll say is my name has to be in the minutes. That is a requirement from the state.
Okay, so
In the
rather
minutes?
than
Yeah,
saying
that's why we
the
put my
town
name in
manager,
there.
I could say that the town manager, comma, Alex Torpey.
Thank you.
Yes,
So amended. I can second that.
you can.
So any further discussion? There's not a whole lot to discuss here. Kari?
So just in terms of discussion, let's see, we passed the bond for 22 million up to, but during the discussions, it was going to be less than that because of the grants we are virtually certain that are available. But the one piece that was sort of left out there was that there's over $1 million available for a capital project such as this in the wastewater fund. And I was just wondering how and when that discussion will take place, of whether some of those funds will be used to offset these, because again, having $1 million sitting someplace in an inflationary period, it just, and ratepayers have paid that money, and it would be good to put it to work at a time, when rates are going up independent of the bonding. So I was wondering when that discussion happens.
So I have not thought about it yet, but I could throw out a suggestion if it doesn't cause a timing issue, which I don't think it does, but I can double check with Ellen. But this could be an early discussion with the Capital Improvement Program Committee. That's all the right stakeholders are already going to be there. And just thinking about that is a moment that we'll be thinking about future capital projects. It's not an exact tie-in, but it is all the right stakeholders. And I guess, Kari, from your standpoint, is there a timing sensitivity to figuring that number out?
Well, I guess it would be before you have to commit, how much of a note or bond you're taking out. And I know that because rates are not guaranteed to stay steady, that the sooner you enter into the agreement, I think we've all thought would be advantageous. I'm sort of looking at others who might know more than I.
We're entering into the.
But I don't know if we're drawing the money out that quickly, and I can.
No, but if you enter into the agreement, you enter into the agreement and then you don't necessarily draw the money quickly. But
we can take less. It's up to the 22 million, not 22 million.
That's true.
So, but I can ask about the timing. I don't think there's a timing urgency. I guess I would say if there is, then we should get together and figure it out immediately. If there's not, I would say I would kick it to the CIP committee.
But there is a huge time restriction with regards to
pass this. I think
so we need to do that tonight.
I think if we don't do it tonight,
I'm not suggesting that you should not
I think
pass
we
the
do 2
motion
weeks ago.
tonight.
It was.
Only not wanting that $1 million to not be part of the discussion.
I can look into that more.
Thank you, Kari. Any further discussion? If not, let's have a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? And the motion passes.
Mr. Chair, would you like me to read the next motion into the minutes?
Sure, that would be grand.
I'd like to move to enter into a binding agreement with the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services through the SFPFF program for the sum of up to $7,800,000, with the understanding that all loan funds received to be repaid. The Select Board also authorizes the Town Manager, Alex Torpe, to apply for, sign, and execute all necessary documents for grants and loans for the Town of Hanover's water main distribution and lead service line replacement project.
Thank you. I can second that again.
Okay.
Any discussion on this? It's
Straightforward.
seeing none. I propose we call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that passes. We don't have other business on our agenda item today, but I don't think we really have any other business that I know of. When there has been a request for a non-public session, we don't adjourn. We this is how we do it. If you haven't been to the end of our meetings, it's really exciting. There has been a request for a non-public session to discuss items pursuant to RSA 91-A:3. Where'd all the Roman numerals go?
I know.
No, that's it. That's right. Yeah,
Oh,
those letters.
We have to say
Where'd the Roman numerals go?
I don't know. I don't know about the Roman numerals.
A, E, This is a vision test for me. No, thank you. And then we go around the room and we say our names if we're in agreement. It's bizarre, but it's what we do.
We have to do a voice vote.
What's that even? It's.
Or sorry, a roll call vote.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yes.
All right. Aldos Gracias, yes.
Nancy Carter, yes.
Callahan, yes.
Chamberlain, yes.
We are now in non-public session. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a lovely evening. And as soon as we're off the air, would you let us know, please? We can start signing things.
Oh, yes, okay, so this one is